Hey everybody, welcome back. Tony again here with Shinsho this yoga, and this week I'd like to do just a little bit of a talk about what is the power of a breath. What is the power of pause? This is something I've been sharing in my classes recently, and I wanted to share with you here on this channel. So, throughout any of these practices, especially what I offer, I'm always telling people to breathe. Follow the inhale, follow the exhale, letting the thoughts arise, pass by, and return to the breath. And I always explain to people that this is not like an aspirin where when you take one breath, all of your problems go away. You have to consistently do this, and you have to make it a part of your life in order for this to be able to have an effect to make a change. But it's a very powerful change. But it can be difficult to quantify. And in our world, people often want to be able to, for lack of a better term, see the numbers, right? If your head hurts, you take your aspirin, it goes away, you know it worked. But if you were having a problem and you took a breath and you breathed and followed your breath and let the thoughts pass by, and then the problem eventually went away, and how do you say, well, did that actually work or it didn't? And that's the challenge of teaching this practice, is getting people to be able to understand that there's a subtlety to it, and that following of the breath work will change and make a big difference in your life if you allow it and if you make it part of everything you do. So, recently, I was driving home from the store on a road not too far from where I live. That's mainly a lot of office complexes, and it was in the middle of the day, and the person in front of me was not doing the speed limit. The speed limit on the road was 40 miles per hour. He was doing 35. I was the first one behind him, and it didn't bother me any. As my sister says, I'm like Miss Daisy when I'm driving. I'm like, do. It's 35, I could care less, right? But the people behind me had a problem with it. They were chomping at the bit to get ahead. They were right on my tail, and they're doing that swerve back and forth to see what's going on. They needed to get where they were going. If they were going back to their offices, I don't know. But they needed to get where they were going. My general rule of thumb is I don't participate in any of that. I just let them go by me. If they want to pass me, they want to do whatever they can. But in this situation, being the person in front of me was the one doing the speed limit, there wasn't anything anyone could do. So they're all chomping at the bit, and as we're coming up to a traffic light of this road in a major highway that passes by, this person turned off. And there's two lanes there, a right and a left lane. So I pull over to the right lane to let them all get up if they want to get to the other side of this and go. You can either go right or left from either of those lanes, but when you get to the other side, when you cross the highway, the lanes merge. But I don't participate in any of that. Let it go by. So I just pull into the right, and I figure anybody that's going to want to blast past me, they can when this light turns green. And I'm just going to let them. The car next to me was a large SUV, though, right? So I couldn't see the traffic coming from this direction. It's blocking my view, and there were some people in the car, and a woman had a phone to her ear. And I said, well, I don't think the driver's paying much attention, but I'm just going to let them do whatever. And when this light turns green, I'm going to wait. And if they want to go, let them go. So eventually the light turned green, and I turned over and I looked at the vehicle next to me, this large SUV. And at first they didn't really do anything. And then I see that they've let up off the brake. The car starts to move a little, and then they stop. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're turning, maybe they're this. But I've got a line of cars behind me. I can't wait any longer. So I'm like, you know what? I gave them their chance to go. They don't want to go, obviously, for whatever reason. I'm going to go. So I let up off the brake, and I go to put my foot on the gas. And as I do, a car runs the red light at about 60 miles an hour. Another large SUV, a big Land Rover, just right through the light. About one car length away from me. I could feel the wind of the car. I had my windows down as they went by. That's how powerful it was. And of course, after that happened, I slowly inch up, looking slowly going across the traffic light and going, why am I not dead? Because they were traveling at such a rate of speed that if I had pulled out the moment that light had turned green, to beat the people next to me, to get in front, all of that, that SUV would have T-boned me right in the driver's door. And at the minimum, my truck would have been just totaled. But there's a good chance I might have not survived or been badly injured, because this rate of speed and the size of that vehicle and the way they would have hit me if I had pulled out any sooner, they would have gone right through me. What is the power of a pause? What is the power of a breath? That moment in time was not more than a breath. Light turns green. One breath. Don't discount the power of one breath. It can change the entire situation. As I often explain to my students in my classes, we're all on a merry-go-round. We're like a record, right? There's a groove. But instead of this record going into the center, it just goes on the same groove over and over and over and over, and we do the same thing. You have to change that track in your life, right? You have to carve a new groove. And that's what this practice does. That's what the breath work does. The focus on the breath work in our spiritual practice is to cut a new groove so we're not doing the same thing over and over. And that groove is very simple. It's taking that moment, that pause, that breath, and instead of reacting, reacting to a situation, we respond to it, right? Instead of, "Rrr," one breath. One breath that day saved me. Without that one breath, without that pause, I may not be here right now doing this. So don't discount the power of the practice. Don't discount the power of one breath. Every day, just following the breath, returning to the breath, right? In our practice, that is our mantra, right? Inhale and exhale, moving with the breath, following the breath, letting the thoughts arise, letting them pass by, return to the breath. We carry that outside of our practice. It doesn't stay here on the mat, and when we roll up our mat, or stay on our cushion, and when we put our cushion away, we go right back to when something comes up, right? We maintain that breath. We stay with that mantra. Somebody's down the road, we're driving, they're tailgating us, let them go by. There's been many times in my life I have pulled over when people, I'm driving along, maybe the road is wet and I'm not doing 50 miles an hour, I'm doing 45, and they want around, I pull over, let them go by. It's not worth it. They're in a rush to get somewhere. Let them get there. I just hope they don't hurt themselves or someone else in the process. But I'm not going to allow myself to be sucked into that, using that as the example. But that can be anything. In self-defense, when I teach self-defense to people, this is priority number one, having a no-conflict mindset, right? That when people come up, hey, hey, how are you? Okay, sure. Right? Not meeting it head on, right? Taking that time for breath, taking that time to pause and breathing. And letting the situation rest before responding to it, instead of taking immediate action and reacting to it. Respond. Breathe, let the emotion pass by, and respond. So again, what is the power of one breath? What is the power of a pause? The other day, it kept me alive. That's the power. Do the same for you. So as always, breathe and follow your breath. And as your thoughts arise, you're going to acknowledge them, let them pass by, and return to the breath. Over, over, and over. Thanks again for watching. Namaste.